A lot of people probably know from social media that Japanese people slurp their noodles, but actually seeing it in person in Japan can still be pretty surprising. Here's a quick quiz for you. Do all Japanese people slurp their noodles? Nope. That is a common myth. You'll notice that a lot of women try to eat noodles quietly. But plenty of men, especially older ones, totally slurp away. So what's the deal with that? In Japan, it's pretty common to see people slurping noodles in TV shows and movies. Kids also grow up watching their parents and other adults slurp noodles in everyday life. Usually, making noise while eating is considered bad manners, and parents will call you out for it. But when it comes to noodles, that rule kind of goes out the window. Of course, if someone's slurping really loudly, they might still get told off, but a moderate slurp is totally acceptable. Just imagine it. The same adults who usually eat quietly suddenly start slurping when noodles are involved. And you see that all the time in movies and TV shows too. If you were a kid growing up with that, you'd naturally start thinking, oh, I guess that's how you're supposed to eat noodles, and you'd end up doing the same. So, how did this unique way of eating noodles, slurping, become a thing in Japan? To find the answer, we have to go all the way back to the Edo period, which was from 1603 to 1868. It was during the Edo-era that soba really took off among the general public. Soba was cheap, quick, and easy to eat. Kind of like fast food today. Back then, there were said to be around 700 soba shops in Edo, which shows just how deeply soba culture was woven into everyday life. Back in those days, the common folks, especially those born and raised in Edo, were known as edoko. They really valued something called iki, a kind of cool, stylish way of living. It was all about being sharp, polished, and carrying yourself with flair. Edoko cared a lot about how others saw them, and looking cool in a refined, effortless way was super important. For edoko, taking your time to carefully eat something as cheap and everyday as soba was considered uncool, even lame. The stylish way to do it was to eat quickly and leave right away. That's why slurping became common. It was simply the fastest way to eat noodles. Slurping helps you finish the meal quickly, and that speed was seen as part of being iki. Of course, when you slurp noodles that are covered in broth, you can't help but make noise. But since eating fast was the priority, the sound wasn't seen as rude. It was just part of the deal. And over time, this way of eating became second nature. That's how the idea that you're supposed to slurp soba took root in Japanese culture. You can even see this noodle slurping culture reflected in rakugo, a traditional form of Japanese storytelling that became popular during the Edo period. Alongside kabuki, rakugo is one of Japan's classic performing arts. It's a simple but clever style of comedy where a single performer, called the rakugoka, sits down and plays multiple characters just through voice, gestures, and facial expressions. Since the Edo period, around 500 rakugo stories have been passed down, and one of the most famous is called Toki Soba, which takes place at a soba stand. In the story, the slurping sound is even acted out, which just goes to show that slurping noodles was totally a thing in Edo-era Japan. Udon, which also caught on during the Edo era, comes in broth too, so slurping is totally normal with that as well. Then in the late 1800s, toward the end of the Edo period, ramen came over from China, and since it's another breathy noodle dish, people started slurping that too, a habit that's still totally normal today. Why do Japanese people slurp their noodles? The custom of slurping noodles in Japan really started with soba during the Edo period. Back then, eating soba quickly was seen as a good thing, so making noise while slurping became totally acceptable. It was just the most efficient way to eat, and that's how the idea that soba should be slurped took hold. Later, when ramen was introduced to Japan, it followed the same path. Since it's also a noodle dish served in broth, slurping naturally became part of the experience, just like with soba. In Japan, slurping can also be taken as a compliment to the food if a dish is that delicious. You might end up eating so enthusiastically that you don't even notice the noise, you're just lost in the flavor.